Thank you for joining me for this episode of God Talk. And it is Thanksgiving Day, at least if you're listening to it on the day in which I post it. I'm actually recording it a day before Thanksgiving. But I wanted to put something out because I know a lot of people have a lot of extra time over the long Thanksgiving Day weekend. And I thought we should probably spend a little time talk about being thankful. And then I want to jump on the topic of my last sermon from this past Sunday and add a little story to the topic, and that was on prayer. So, first of all, the art of being thankful. I think some more than others have the ability to kind of see and find the negative in everything. We probably all have known someone who, like, nothing's ever good enough, nothing's ever perfect. All they ever do is complain. And honestly, people like that aren't always the most fun to be around. But I think even for the average person, I think we find ourselves to maybe be indifferent rather than thankful. And we don't realize just the blessings that we have in our lives, all the things that we just take for granted. And, you know, I just hope that this Thanksgiving day, this Thanksgiving season, this Thanksgiving week, that you're making a point to just realize all the blessings that we have in our lives. My eldest daughter, was set to give birth December 20th, but they've moved it up significantly. And next Wednesday, I say significantly, like a couple weeks, I guess. I mean, it's significant enough to me. But come a week from Wednesday, this day I'm recording it, 6 days from when I'm releasing this, we are going to have our first grandchild, and my eldest daughter will have her first child. And what a blessing that is. And I mean, everyone just keeps telling me what a blessing grandkids are, and I'm sure they are. But I find myself in the mode of, wow, this is coming a couple weeks earlier than I thought. In the mode of, things are going to get really crazy for her and her husband, and I hope they're ready for everything that's going to kind of come their way. To wondering and worrying if my daughter is going to be able to keep up with her job at the church, and then she's a licensed counselor because she wants to, and they kind of want to be able to have that income coming in, and will they be able to do it? Like, that's where my mind goes, to all these practical things. And I caught myself just today thinking, how about just being thankful? Being thankful that in a week you're going to have a grandson, and what a blessing that is. Maybe some of you are gathering today with a bunch of family, and maybe hasn't been a perfect day. Maybe everyone starts getting on each other's nerves by the end of the day. Maybe the Cowboys don't win again. Maybe the turkey isn't quite as moist as what you would like it. The stuffing didn't turn out exactly right, but you know what? It's still a good day. I went and played laser tag with my brother, his son, and my son early this afternoon before I came into the office. And the first game, my son and my brother's son killed me and my brother. I mean, they doubled our score. It was a slaughtering, right? Then we switched teams up, and me and my son beat my brother and his son, and I like that much more. But it's a good day. It's a good day to just have fun and to do things that you don't get to do very often. And maybe for some of you, just have a couple days off, a couple extra days off. And the point is like, we just have to learn to be thankful for the small things, because I think it's so easy to just sit there and nitpick at what's not perfect, rather than appreciate that we've got a good God. We have a good life. Are things perfect? No, but that's what heaven's for. But man, they're good. And all of us are blessed in ways beyond what we even begin to realize. Oftentimes when I lead, prayers for the congregation, I oftentimes just talk about the fact that, like, thank you, God, for all the things that you do that we don't even realize. Try to wrap your mind around that. Maybe it's when you're already having a bad day and he saves you from that flat tire. You never knew he did it. And so you can't even appreciate it. But I believe he does. He guards us, he protects us, and we don't get spared from everything, but it certainly could be a lot worse than what we have, couldn't it? So let us be thankful. Second thing I want to do is just talk about prayer. And I preached a sermon on prayer this past Sunday. We concluded our message series, Inspiring Stories of the Bible. And I looked at like 5 different passages in the Bible that dealt with prayer. And like nothing's more inspiring than realizing the power of prayer. And I had a funny story that my eldest daughter was wanting me to tell, but I didn't. And so I thought, well, I'll give her honorable mention in this podcast. When it comes to prayer, I'm not a real chatty person. So I'm not real chatty with God. The way I describe my relationship with God and my conversations with Him is kind of like you picture a couple old people sitting on a porch on the rocking chair. They're just rocking, kind of going back and forth, just kind of like being in each other's presence, but there's not a lot of words being spoken. Every so often, someone might say something and the other one might go, "Yep," as they keep rocking. And that's kind of how I am in my relationship with God. I feel His presence. I don't feel the need to chat all the time. I don't feel the need to bother Him with the small things. Don't get me wrong. If something major is coming up and I'm getting anxious, I'm gonna chew His ear off. I'm gonna really start praying and bugging Him, right? But in the day to day, I know His presence is there. I know He's guarding and protecting me. I see it in real time when it happens. Some of the things, at least, and I'm sure I miss many, but many other things He does that I don't begin to realize. But I'm thankful for it and I appreciate it. But I just don't I don't think to bug Him with prayer for the smaller things, and that's just my relationship. My eldest daughter's a little different. She's ready to pray about everything. Like anything that comes up, have you prayed? Well, we need to just pray about it. Funny story. So I was getting some Christmas lights delivered for the church to my house on Amazon, and just some spotlights and stuff like that, accent lights. And then I had some other Christmas lights for the church that were being delivered. Well, I found the one box, but it said both boxes were delivered. So I thought, I didn't think they were stolen because someone would have stole both boxes rather than just one of them. But there was only one box out there. And so I compared the picture between the box that was out there, which was taken with perspective, like it was taken far enough back that you could tell it was my house. And sure enough, that box was there. But there was something seemingly fishy about the box that I never found. And that box, that picture was taken very, very close. Maybe one brick or two in the background. There was no context, no perspective to really determine if it was my house. There was a flower pot, but as I looked at the picture, that did not look like my house because it looked like there was this mat outside the front door, which had a border on it and no patterns. And in the other picture, clearly, like the mat I have out in front of my house has a pattern and no like black rubber border around it. And where there's a pot for plants, it's on the left side of the door. And this was clearly something that was on the right side of the pot and on the right side of the door. And that's just not where my pot is. So I thought that box was delivered to the wrong house. And I noticed it Tuesday morning before men's Bible study started at 6 a.m. So I'm like trying to verify, no, this is definitely not my house. At 5:30 in the morning, I'm making coffee for the Bible study, and I'm calling Amazon, and I'm all prepared to give them a legal defense. Look at these two pictures delivered on the same day. This one has this type of mat. This one has that type of mat. That's not my house. But I didn't get a chance to because I just said it was delivered to the wrong house. And they said, all right, let me go check on this and I'll tell you what we can do. They come back a minute or two later and they're like, all right, we'll deliver you a new one. And there'll be a label in the box to return the one that you have, but don't worry about returning it. And I thought, well, that was easy. I didn't even have to prove it. Now, I don't know if they go back and check your history, and we never have problems with things being stolen or not being delivered right. So probably have a pretty squeaky clean past in terms of their delivery. And so they weren't giving me any grief about me saying it wasn't delivered. Well, later that day, I guess it was, I think it was later that day or the next day, but let's just say later that day, I'm coming in through the garage and there's this Amazon package in the garage. And I get inside my house and I said, how this package get in the garage? Kind of thinking that maybe a neighbor brought it over because that was the missing package that was delivered to the wrong house and so forth. And I think my oldest daughter said, "Oh, it was outside the door. I brought it into the garage." I'm like, "What?" So then, of course, I had to go into a long, drawn out, excited defense of my actions because there's no way that was really delivered to our house. That must have been a neighbor that came and dropped it off in front of the house because I have pictures. And look at this picture. This doormat has no design on it and has a black rubber border on it. And this other one is really our house and it does have a design and there's no border. And I'm trying to, make a legal case to my daughter about it. And I could tell she's not 100% believing me. So we go out and we look at the front door and compare it. She's like, "Well, there's the flower pot in it." I'm like, "No, no. The flower pot in this picture is on the right side of the door, and our flower pot's on the left side. And there's no room between the flower pot and the wall, and there's a ton of room on this." And we're going back and forth. She's like, "Dad, the 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 package is in front of the flower pot." And I start looking at it, and then it almost becomes like remember that dress that you like some people saw it as blue and some saw it as a different color? I mean, all of a sudden it's like, wait, have I been seeing this wrong? I'm like, what about the mat? And then I said, like on that picture, they zoomed in so close on it that there was no perspective. And because they zoomed in so close, what I thought was a mat might have been the crack in the expansion crack in the sidewalk and now I don't know what's real or what's not, but I'm still convinced I'm right and I'm trying to go back to the picture and like they've taken the picture down off their website because they canceled that order and they were sending a new one. Now, mind you, let me say before I get further in the story, I had already canceled the replacement because I got the other one, and so that was canceled. And so once I did that, there's no picture available. But earlier, when I was trying to make the case and before I canceled it, I kind of showed my daughter the picture and she was able to pull it up on her phone. But now neither of us could pull up the picture, which now gets me to the point of prayer. My daughter's like, "Well, maybe we should be praying that we can see that picture again." And I'm thinking, are you really going to bother God about praying for a picture about some Amazon order that is here now? And this isn't a big deal anyways, even though I'm making it out to be a big deal, but that's a whole nother story. Well, that probably is a story, but anyways, and so we just determined that like we can't go back and look at that picture and we'll never know if like a neighbor dropped this off or if I'm just an idiot and it was delivered from Amazon to the right place in the first place. And we go back inside the living room and sit down and she goes, "Oh, look, the picture's here on my phone." I'm like, "What do you mean the picture's here on my phone?" She's like, "I don't know. The picture's just on my phone." Well, how'd the picture get on your phone? Like, the picture's not on the website anymore. You didn't screenshot it. I don't know. It's just here on my phone. I was praying that it would be, and it is. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, did God just like answer a prayer for you about showing you a picture on Amazon so that I could be like humbled to know that, like, even though I was 100% sure I was right, I was really wrong? And then I thought, well, it probably is good sometimes for God to let me know I'm wrong when I think I'm 100% right. So who knows? Who knows? I still don't know. Crazy though, that a picture just appears on her phone. The point being, maybe, maybe, maybe things aren't too little or too stupid to be praying for. I remember at my first church, like people would be able to turn in prayer requests, and we actually did it here at Light of the World for a while. And people would be like, "Please pray for my sick goldfish," or my my hamster. Like what do you do with that? I mean, I can't be like up there in front of hundreds of people praying for someone's sick hamster, and we don't do prayer requests that way anymore. That solves that problem, but. Maybe God doesn't mind. Right now, I'm still that kind of old man on the rocking chair, and I'm going to know and trust that everything's going to turn out just fine. And I don't need to like chew, chew on his ear for every small thing. I'm probably still going to continue in that mindset, but I will tell you this. I'm intrigued by the idea that, well, maybe God even cares to help us out on the small things. Maybe I was not only wrong about that Amazon package, but maybe kind of my view on what we bother God with and what we should and shouldn't. Maybe I'm wrong on that too. And in the end, I really don't like to say that I'm wrong on anything. So the fact that I might be wrong on that, well, that's something to be thankful for in and of itself. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I look forward to talking to you next time. God bless.